Hello, thank you for taking the time to watch this video. Now, this video I want to talk about what the Lord has shown me over the last, must be about 9 to 10 years nearly, of revelation about the Nephilim, fallen angels, the Watchers, all those things. And this is something that is quite a subject that people really want to find information about, and because the Lord has given me this information without me even asking for it, I feel that I should share it with people as a warning to what's coming in the future. Now, if you look at Genesis 6:4, it talks about the Nephilim were on the earth in those days, and also after when the sons of God came unto the daughters of men and had children by them. Now, people like to argue this fact that angels don't marry. Well, the obvious that people clearly don't want to see is that these are rebellious angels, okay? They're not good angels. They were good according to the book of Enoch. These were good angels. They were called the Watchers in the book of Enoch, and they were sent to instruct man how to do certain things. But then they decide to rebel against God, and, you know, the book of Enoch gives a lot more detail into, and it backs the book of Enoch and the Bible back each other up, because there's a segment of the book of Enoch directly quoted in the book of Jude. If you look at the book of Enoch, you can see that it's the first part of the book of Enoch is quoted in Jude. So I think they used in those ancient times, they referred to all these different scrolls, these books and stuff. They had more than a 66, so we can say it's safe to read that book. Okay, my first encounter with what I believe was a fallen angel in a dreamlike state was in 2008 in February. And how it happened is I was asleep and I was asleep in a mining town that I come from, Waihi, and I saw in a sleep state like the whole wall of the house was transparent. I could see this being standing there, and it was about the height of the roof, about 10 feet tall maybe. It was wearing all black kind of robes. It had a high collar around its neck. Think something that you'd see and you think would look like a vampire or something like that. But this being was completely humanoid. It had dark hair. It had a It had a pointy nose. I remember, dark eyes, long hair, and it had strange pointy parts coming off the back of its collar. And I could see that there was some kind of umbilical cord running from this being out of the wall of the house, and this is in a dream state. I was not awake, and it went outside up into the sky, which I could see through the whole wall of the house for some reason, and I could see a black top hat shaped object in the sky that it was attached to, and I saw that and thought UFO, top hat shaped UFO, and that gave me the impression that these fallen angels that are around on the earth now, floating around, got everything to do with UFO sightings around the world. So that's the deception. I hope I haven't offended anyone. I'm sorry to disappoint anybody that they don't want to hear this, but I think most of the UFO sightings that people see that are unexplained around the world are to do with fallen angels, not aliens. So that's the first part. I saw the being, and it had written in white font under the being that I could see. It was like it was highlighted. Was Nephilim, Watcher, fallen angel. And I thought that was a bit strange when I first saw that, and I wrote all this down when I woke up, and I thought Nephilim meant giant. But if you look at the word Nephilim in the Strong's dictionary, it says fella or tyrant, giant, but it comes from the root word nephel in the Hebrew. Strong's dictionary means to fall. So a fallen angel is a Nephilim. And it says that, Numbers 13, we saw the Anak, they came from the Nephilim. The Anakim we saw there, they came from the Nephilim. So the Anakim giants they saw in the land of Canaan came from the fallen angels. So they had children with them, yes. So that was my first experience, and that gave me, that was the first realization about them being associated with UFOs and aliens. Now later on in the end of 2008, God revealed to me a very powerful prophetic dream, which I never asked him for. It just happened one day. I was asleep during the day. No, was I? No, it was at night time. I was asleep, and I saw a future type of world, possibly. And I saw a hill and forest, and there was this mountain top, and there was a crowd gathered, and this large UFO, stereotype UFO from the, landed on top of a hill, or was already on the hill, and it was huge. This thing was massive, and it had a lot of portholes and windows and stuff all on it, and it had a few different layers to it. And I caught glimpses of the inside of it at some point, but there were these huge humanoids inside, and they came out. And now they came out, there was a crowd forming around them, and these beings felt like they were religious, like they were bringing a new religion to the earth, or the people around them were all followers. In the dream, I didn't want to have anything to do with them. I kept away from them, and the people were brainwashed in believing them. And another thing about these beings is they were massive. They weren't the size of a normal human being. So if you look at that point in particular and then refer it to the Bible, the giants that the Israelites fought in the land of Canaan, that came from the fallen angels, they were huge. They were giants. They weren't normal size. Look at Goliath. Take him for instance. King Og of Bashan, I think he had a beard 14 feet long. So that was another thing. That was an indicator from that prophetic vision, that what I was seeing was to do with the Nephilim. Okay, so that was my second encounter. Later on in 2010, a few years later, I had a dream that I saw these beings, the previous dream that I just talked about, again, and I saw more information about how there was a future time in the world. I could see a load of people in distress on the earth, like there was something wrong with the sun, and a comet had appeared in the sky, and everyone, I could see a news reporter, and everyone was blaming the change in weather on this comet. And yeah, I could just see a lot of distress everywhere around the world. And then around that time, this massive spaceship or craft or shaped object, or shaped like a giant T, came and landed on the earth in a bay area. And it was, from the information I'm just looking here, what I wrote down, it was 5 kilometers long, which is 5,000 meters long. If you multiply that by 3, you'll see how big it is in feet, 15,000, 16,000 feet. It was a silvery color. It landed in front of me. What else? It had a city built on the back of it. Now, I think that was an analogy for that this was the whole civilization of these beings. And again, they came out of the craft. I saw them. There were 3 leaders that walked out of this craft, and they were huge, just like the previous dream. So you refer that to the Word of God, to the Bible. The offspring of the Nephilim, the offspring of the fallen angels, the giants on the earth, they were huge as well. So we can see that Satan has still been creating these supermen, I would call them. Okay, that was the third encounter. Now, last year in 2015, before that, there was actually another one. Now, about a year later, I had this dream again, the one I just talked about again, but from a different perspective with more information. And that's how God works sometimes. He shows us one piece of a dream one year, and then the next year He shows us another piece. And I've looked, because I record all my dreams down, I've looked over the years, and He's shown me some things 1 month, 1 year, then 2 years later on the same month, on nearly the same date, He shows me more information about a dream I had 2 years ago. So this was again about that large ship that landed on the earth, but there were 2 of them this time, and they were flying in formation, and this time they were white and porcelain, shiny coloured, and they had kind of like retractable wings on them. And they were, it was like there was a television set up in a room, and me and another person were watching this television set, and that's how prophetic dreams start sometimes. And then as we zoomed up to the TV and saw what was going on, that's when we saw these ships. They were above Earth. They were above cities. These beings came as our friends. I recognized the leader of them straight away from all the other previous dreams I had. I saw the same man. He had white hair. He was dressed in sort of Roman-like clothing. And They came as our friends, and then they suddenly turned on us for whatever reason. It wasn't explained. And these two ships destroyed cities across the whole world, and they were completely indestructible. They're firing these fiery type balls down into the cities. And they were dropping into the cities these massive things that looked like octopuses that had the skin texture of elephant skin. No eyes that I could see, and these octopus-shaped beings were devouring people, eating them. And this actually happened in a previous stream too, that I saw part of that happening. And I want to say that out of all these dreams, the same looking leader, I saw also this diagram coming down from the sky in crystal clear, and I could see it, and it had three or four components that were all linked together. The top of this object that came down was shaped like a Greek temple. The middle part was made out of steel, like the skin of a spacecraft or something metallic, and it had lightning bolt symbols all on it, and then it had Celtic and Maori design patterns on it. And what my understand from that is that these beings, these fallen angel offspring beings, have had a direct contact in the past with these three different civilizations. The top being the Greeks, the ancient Greeks. They had contact with them. The lightning bolts standing for Thor, Tyrannus, and also Zeus. So that's the Greeks, Greek, Scandinavian, and Celtic people. And the Maori designs and patterns, which Maori and Celtic patterns are very similar, as they had contact with the Celtic people through Tyrannus, their gods. And the metal background of it all was, I believe, is the future and us again and this modern world. And maybe they are directing the affairs of this modern world even right now. We don't know. But there is going to come a time in the future where they're going to reveal themselves completely to mankind, and it's going to cause so much confusion. But I created this video just as a warning, and I believe it's right, and he's given me these things to share, so I feel like I have to do it. I can't hold it back and keep it to myself. And in this modern age that we're living in, I think they're going to come back, and you just have to remember the stream, and that these beings aren't what they say they are. They're evil. They are evil, and they're not of God, and they're going to probably bring the one world government on the earth, and they'll have a lot to do with the one world government that's in the Bible, the mark of the beast, the Trans-Pacific Partnership, the United Nations, the European Union, all of that. They will probably fully control after the world has been gone through a lot of hard times. They'll come at the end of that, and that's when the one world government will be established, and everyone won't be able to buy or sell without the mark on their right hand or their forehead. They're probably the beings that come out of the abyss, when the abyss is open and locusts come down upon the earth. They have the faces of men, the hair of woman, the teeth of lion. It's probably these beings that the Bible possibly is talking about in the book of Revelations. They come through some sort of portal, and they're all of a sudden here again. They've been here in the past, and they're here again. So pray to God, ask Him for direction about what you've just listened to, and God bless you. Thank you for listening. Bye.